I'm Leslie Kennedy, and this is Prince, and we are at Clearview Farm in Fort Collins, Colorado. His full name is Palaspar Prince. I think it's ridiculous, but he came with it. If I had to describe him, I would say that in one word, he's cheeky. He might not act like it right now, but he's deceiving you. When he's being naughty, I call him Princess, but and occasionally he gets the nickname Derek Zoolander because he doesn't like to turn left sometimes. So he's a goofy guy. He was 20 years old when I got him. He's the last part of his life with me. Pretty soon after we got him, he started with the intermittent diarrhea. It finally got to the point where he started losing weight. He had never lost weight. He'd always had like normal vitals and his weight was always the same, but he finally started to lose weight. So I called CSU out, and that's when he was diagnosed with the Cushing's. So at first I was really relieved, and within a couple of weeks, the diarrhea stopped and his energy level, he was like a stallion, he was crazy. It's hard to believe, but he was nuts. But then within the month was when he started to go back. And that's when I had luckily received Dr. Brault, because she was, you know, like Prince's saving grace.
My name is Stephanie Brault. I'm a veterinarian. I have an ambulatory equine practice called Equine Veterinary Services of Northern Colorado. I'm board certified in large animal, general large animal. I have an equine emphasis, and that's how the training usually works, is you'll emphasize one or the other. Prince is very playful, very personable, and he always lets you know if he doesn't like something, or if something's not working for him. And that's something that I really enjoy about Prince, because he doesn't leave you guessing. When I first saw him, he had been just previously diagnosed by another veterinarian as having Cushing's disease. They had done some lab tests on him. They'd had some suspicion that he might be having that problem based on some changes in his body and hair shedding and things of that nature. As horses move more into that companion animal sort of status, people are keeping them well beyond the age at which people used to keep horses when they were kept only as work animals. In the general population, PPID is pretty uncommon. You know, it's less than 0.2%. However, when you start moving up into the 20-year range, that has ranged anywhere from somewhere around 5 to 15%. But when you move up into 30 years of age, you're looking at probably a third of horses. The frustrating thing about that condition is it can range from anything really simple food intolerance to pretty severe diseases, cancer or inflammatory disease of the bowel. And so we had to run the gamut in between all those possibilities while not breaking the bank by doing all sorts of diagnostic tests that we didn't need to do. So we did some changes of feed to see if that helped. We did tests for parasites. We did just baseline blood work, just to assess that, and ended up coming to the conclusion that probably the reason he was having the problem with the chronic loose stool was just irritation from long stem in his hay, because he has poor teeth. And that is something, Prince is not a spring chicken. He's in his 20s, and as horses age, they lose some of the effectiveness of their grinding ability on their teeth. Horses with PPID are also insulin resistant. Sort of similar to a person with diabetes, they can't be eating things high in sugars that are really easily digested and bump their blood sugar up. With the insulin resistance, grazing, unrestricted grazing is not a good idea, and Prince would love it if he could be out grazing all the time. So we try to put him out to graze, for instance, at times when it's the least risk, which is the early morning when the grasses haven't stored a bunch of sugars. We try to have him wear a grazing muzzle in the times when the grasses are the most dangerous, when there's changes in the weather and drought and things of that nature.
This is a grazing muzzle, and they're used for horses that need a restricted diet or fat ponies. And there's a hole in the bottom, so he can still grasp the grass and get some, but it slows down the amount that he can eat.
It's a big area of research right now, just because it is a really relevant area, it's an interesting area in and of itself, just physiologically, and then it's becoming more and more relevant because of the increasing population of older horses and people's willingness and desire to have really top-notch care for them and to provide the best care for them as they age. And so there are a number of people that are investigating the mechanisms of the disease, treatment, and other areas in the field. The main thing we worry about with horses with undiagnosed PPID would be potentially laminitis episodes, which can severely decrease quality of life, to the point that some horses will have to be euthanized. There's a bone inside the hoof capsule we call the coffin bone, and there's these small fingers that interlock that hold that bone to the inside of the hoof capsule. What happens with laminitis is that those become inflamed and break apart, and so you'll have the coffin bone shifts within the capsule, and that causes a huge amount of pain. So I kind of use as an analogy the idea of, you slam your fingernail in a car door and then you have to stand on it. And that's kind of how horses are, because they're basically standing on their fingernail and having that degree of inflammation and damage, and then having to bear weight on that is what laminitis does. These horses require careful management to make sure that they maintain a good body condition. I feel like we've been able to listen to him and walk the line between doing the things that are best for him as far as dietary management. Leslie has really stuck with it as far as trying to find that balance for him and trying to keep him happy, but also try to maximize his health. So that's been just really, really important in this case.
I mean, as every person who knows horses, or even who's come in contact with them, they're so wonderful and magical, and they give us so much. We have to, work with them and give them every possible thing that they need, because they give us everything.